Okay, draw a crowd.
Yeah, you know, we're hot, what can I say? It's either this or one fun movie and popcorn.
I like movies in the park.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North Clackamas County Park and Recreation District Board of Directors meeting on this March 20, 2024. Gary Schmidt, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, the staff support tonight's meeting are, I'm Gary Schmidt, the District Administrator. Our District Counsel is Jeff Munns, Director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, Kia Seeley. First week on the job, congratulations. Yes, applause, would be nice, thank you. Tony Mayernick, Clerk to the Board. Director West is not able to be here tonight. Director Schrader is on her way. With that, I'll do roll call. Director Schull. Here. Director Savas. Present. Chair Smith.
Here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome, everyone. We appreciate your attendance tonight at this presentation. We will have public testimony coming up a little bit later in the program, and we will tell you when that's going to happen, usually at the end. If anybody would like to testify, please fill out a blue card and give it to Kia or
Yeah, Kia or me, either one of them.
either one, and just, write your name on it so we know who to call on. And that's the reason for the cards. Thank you very much. Gary, first item.
Yes, Chair Smith. First, we have a brief presentation, and that is report from the Chair of the Parks District Advisory Committee. This is the volunteer committee of community members. Jeanette DeCastro is the Chair of the District Advisory Committee. Please welcome Chair DeCastro. We have about 5-6 minutes, 10 minutes, please.
Thank you. 5 to 6
Welcome.
would be great.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
for
much
coming.
for having me. So good evening. My name is Jeanette DeCastro, as mentioned, and I'm the current chair of our DAC, which stands for District Advisory Committee. Please stop me if I use a lot of acronyms because I'm trying to do that less. My pronouns are she and they. So as you know, the district includes 5 sub areas. I reside in sub area 3, which is very close, and where I am is very close to Mount Talbot Nature Park. So tonight I'll present a report on behalf of the DAC. And I'd first like to start off with some appreciations. So I wanted to say thank you to the board of directors who are here tonight, and Martha, who's not here. I'm sorry, Director Schrader, apologies. I'm a little casual, so.
That's all right. Hold on.
For coming to meet us and have dinner in January. That was really awesome. And it was so nice to see folks in person. Zoom has us a little comfortable, right? So it was great to be in person. I also wanted to say a big thank you to Cindy Becker for acting as acting director. So thank you, Cindy. And I'd like to say thank you to all of the NCPRD staff who are really thoughtful in helping the District Advisory Committee with their efforts. Folks have really stretched to help us adeptly and with grace, and they're doing an amazing job. I probably won't catch everyone, but I wanted to specifically recognize Dominic Cortines, Melina DeFrancisco, okay, good, Lydia Larson, Jessie Lemaine, our liaison, Director Savas, and the PGA office and Administrator Schmidt. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I missed anybody. So with that transition period generally, we're very excited to have new Director Seeley on board. We're excited to work with you, and we're excited to learn from your experience, provide support, and really to try to optimize our role as an advisory body. There were also a few changes in the DAC that include a few folks leaving. So that's why myself and Mark Elliott stepped up as chair and vice chair respectively.
Thank you very much for that, by the way.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'll be here till July.
Well, then
Put
what's
some
happening in
boundaries.
July?
We'll vote for a new chair. These things, we'll see what happens there. I do like a contested election, nice and democratic. I did have some concerns, I'll just say directly, last winter about communication and about transparency. And I feel that my and other community members' feedback has been heard. I do see the efforts to share out information in a timely manner, and I wanted to say thank you for that. I also want to pivot a little bit. I want to say thank you to Anita Blackmar. She's been appointed for a vacancy in sub area 2. And thank you all for proving it. She's a steadfast advocate. We're pleased to have her back. There will be a recruitment push for end of the term positions for DAC members. That's a pretty normal process. And that will happen spring and summer, anticipating new DAC members starting up in July. So I'm going to take this opportunity to plug. So if there's any folks watching or listening in or watching the recording, please reach out if you have any questions about how you can serve on the DAC, how you can volunteer for North Clackamas Parks and Rec District, or if there's a friends group that's near you. So our email is dac@ncprd.com. Welcome. Good. So I was just doing a little self-promotion for the DAC.
Okay.
Yeah. So the systems plan is coming up and it'll be discussed later. So it's my understanding that that's like a master plan and an operations plan melded together. So I understand that that's very critical. It's a big priority. I wanted to share that the DAC members are giving their insights to staff on how to help with community outreach opportunities. They're volunteering to help. The feedback I'm hearing from folks in CPOs and the other DAC members is really positive about that start of work. And, I understand that, we're designed to be representative, but there's an irreplaceable value to community outreach and meeting folks where they are. And I tried a little humor. An example I'll give, I tried out some softball as a catcher, and then I took this amazing catch with my nose. So I will say I am not your person for team sports. We need other folks to kind of chime in on that experience, right? For that perspective, to make sure that we hear about what they want and need as well. So thank you for the pity laugh. I will cheer from the sidelines, most certainly. I wanted to also kind of talk a little bit again about something a little more serious. Things that have been in the public eye. I think that it's been a learning opportunity for a lot of folks. Our board of directors for North Clackamas Park and Recreations District, they have the decision-making authority. They're the governance end of things. And once there are any contract negotiations, there are things like property or matters in the court, the DAC takes a back seat, role. That's important and appropriate. We can provide input as community members and as DAC members. And we can also let you know if we receive a lot of questions, right, about those things. In the spirit of advising, I really will say it's my personal position that as North Clackamas School District and North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District talk about different property deals, including Wichita Center, that really, if that can be resolved as quickly as possible, that would be wonderful. It really seemed like a lot of the concern I was hearing was about the uncertainty of the schedule. And uncertainty creates fear, it creates misinformation. I'm sure that I'm telling you stuff you already know. So I really also want to say thank you for continuing to keep us apprised of how things are going. It's nice to know that it's moving forward. And also, the system development charge methodology study had been on hold, and I'm really pleased that that's going to be taken up again. Thank you. It sounds like I made a big long thank you letter, but that wasn't my intention. I wanted to give an update. I think that's just part and parcel of it. So going to the DAC specific work, we have some established goals that are already set, and we received a suggestion to make them more actionable and more measurable. So we're currently taking on that work in a subcommittee to refine those goals. The chair and co-chair, so myself and Mark Elliott, are working with staff about some bylaws amendments. And I'm sure that we'll have some support in, sort of truing those up. The other thing that I want to capture is sort of the spirit. We're really looking at ways to find a yes, to find ways to make things happen, because we do believe we're stronger together, and we know that there are financial constraints. That's a reality for any Parks and Recreation district. So the questions of district makeup, district governance, representation from the community, and future obligations for all of the things that the Parks and Rec District does, they weigh very heavy on us. We do plan to relook at districts' governance models, including the pros and the cons. I know there's some background of prior research, there's a lot to that. I want to assure you that we intend to be thorough prior to make any recommendations to this board of directors. It's my hope that we continue to grow our communication, and we really earn a place to be trusted advisors. We would love to be that for you. We're certainly passionate, and that's why we're here. We know there are areas of our district that don't have a park nearby, or we could use more ball fields. I mean, there's a lot of need there. And so there's a lot of need and a lot of prioritizing to be done. Some of our steady work, and I promise I'm wrapping up soon, we're always sort of, how are we going to be able to add more parks, community centers, and services? That's like a North Star. It's a given. We are continually liaison with community members. We have folks that reach out to us, and we want to encourage that two-way communication. We want to continue to support the system plan work. We want to be boosters of our parks, and our community centers and our classes and our cool events. And we want to continue to find common goals and work together. Even if on the DAC we have different passions or opinions or perspectives, we really are committed to that. So I really thank you for all of your time. It wasn't a very quantitative update, but I really appreciate the chance to kind of walk you through what we've been working on.
You did
Well,
great.
Jeanette DeCastro, thank you very much for coming forward. You say boosters of parks. I haven't heard the term boosters in forever. And when I think of it, warm feelings come to mind.
Okay.
As growing up in a small community of Malala, where we had the sports boosters and we had these boosters, and they were kind of took care of all the people who are participants in the program. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. But thank you for using that term, and keep using it.
Okay,
Yeah, it was very good.
we'll keep boosting it.
Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yes, thank you for stepping up and being the chair.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
and keep communicating. We will keep communicating also. I think this board is committed to doing that with the folks and just moving forward as quickly and as much as we can.
Thank you so much.
You betcha. Very nice that you came. Gary, we have some items on this.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Next are several board discussion items. These are not decisions, just a chance for staff to provide updates and answer your questions. Board of Directors first is system plan rollout. Kia Selly, the director, will lead off, and other staff will participate as needed. Go ahead, please, Kelly.
All
Kia.
right, thank you so much. So last December, the Board of Directors approved phases 1 and 2 of the consulting contract for preparation of the updated system plan that will guide district investments over the next 20 years in parks, trails, facilities, and recreation. The project kicked off in January and will be completed next summer in 2025. The district's last approved master plan was completed in 2004.
Excuse me, they're having trouble hearing you. Can you speak a little louder?
Sure.
Thank you.
I will project. The district's last approved master plan was completed in 2004, since the effort in 2015 was never finalized due to boundary changes. As part of phases 1 and 2, we're analyzing and updating district data. We're assessing the condition of our district assets, and through district-wide community engagement, we will learn resident needs and wants. To make sure that we hear from a large number of district residents, we're meeting residents where they are at community meetings, such as the Oak Lodge and Jennings Lodge Community Planning Organization meetings, and at fun community events throughout the district, such as the Oak Grove Festival, sponsored by the historic downtown Oak Grove. Next month, staff will host 8 online focus groups representing a range of topics and user groups such as youth and families and emerging trends in parks and recreation. In May, we will launch an online survey and we will disaggregate data between the Milwaukee district residents and those living in unincorporated Clackamas County. Staff have briefed the DAC, the District Advisory Committee, and have met individually with members to receive feedback on how to reach district residents and to gauge their interest in participating as project volunteers, to actually gather resident input with us and to assess the condition of our district assets. Staff are collaborating with numerous organizations throughout the district to build a comprehensive calendar of events, again, to reach residents where they are. And we are coordinating with Clackamas County staff, the school districts, and community-based organizations such as Northwest Family Services. We are also developing partnerships that can multiply our staff efforts, such as using H3S community liaisons to reach diverse residents, and the county's Youth Action Board to assess the condition of district assets and to support our work at community events. Staff will return to the board by September of this year to report on phases 1 and 2 and to request approval to proceed with phases 3 and 4, which are to develop the plan and the implementation strategy. So that's it for my update. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I'm looking forward to the meeting engagement piece and, make sure that you plug us into opportunities for us to attend if it's appropriate.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. We do look forward to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next update is several development updates for the district, including the Concord Community Center Playground and Parking, Jennings Lodge property, and the Justice property. Kia will also present.
So construction began earlier this year at the Concord property to construct a new 2-acre park and to complete phase 1 of a renovated community center at the former Concord Elementary School site. Project completion is expected next summer in 2025, and a public naming process will be undertaken soon to actually name the new facilities. The new park will include a sports field, a shelter, and an inclusive playground that will accommodate children with different abilities. Renovation of the community center building will include a new HVAC system, a roof, a new ground floor entry, an elevator, restroom improvements for accessibility and functionality, and new finishes to accommodate recreation and community programming, such as a new teen space, community living room, rentable event space, and room for fitness classes. To be clear, not all spaces in the building will be improved because of limited funding, such as the kitchen and several rooms in the lower level. The level of finish throughout is going to be of a renovated community center, not a brand new facility, but we are excited nevertheless. A completion of the renovation work for future phases is envisioned when a significant grant or a new funding tool, such as a capital bond measure, can be secured. Most recently, you may have noticed that construction has stopped. A formal stop work order was issued due to unforeseen delays with permit approvals. Contingency will be used to fund costs associated with the stop work order, and the cost will be split evenly between the NCPRD projects and the library project. NCPRD has secured grants for certain park and playground elements, including a $1.2 million Metro Local Show Program grant and a little over $500,000 from Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Local Government Grant Program. The total project cost for the park and phase 1 community center renovation is currently $18.45 million. Any questions, directors?
I do. What's with the permit approval delay? What entity is giving the? I think I know the answer. What entity is giving the approval for the permits. And you are, sir?
I am Jason Darga, the project manager, for the library and the, NCPRD's portion. Right now, the last permit that we're working through is with Oak Lodge Water District. We've gone through, we actually have a building permit that is done. It's just, we have to get this Oak Lodge permit and, there's a site development permit through the county that's done also. But until those two are issued and approved, we can't get our building permit.
So it sounds like we have two different jurisdictions. We have a
Yeah.
Lodge Water District, and what is the reason for their delay?
We've had to go through, we're now going into our third round of revisions.
On what, plumbing hookups?
It's mostly, with the site utilities. So where the library sits, Spalding came right underneath where the library sits, so we had to reroute all our utilities. We had a plan. When we went in with that, we basically have had to redesign where those utilities reroute on the site, so that took a little bit of time for us to do that. We actually had a meeting with them today. My hope is, that by either the end of next week or the week before, we have a permit from them, and that we're starting construction hopefully by that first week of April. If things
Now,
go the way we
is
plan.
that construction dependent upon the site development permit from Clackamas County?
It is, but that one is, I believe, we're just waiting for an exemption for an ADA access piece. Otherwise, everything else has been responded to and answered.
Jeff,
Yes,
talk to it.
sure. As far as answering that question,
Well, yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you know what I'm at.
yeah, where we're at is, obviously Jason's working through this process with the two permitting agencies that were kind of balancing this work back and forth as we get to this point of starting construction. It's something that we've had a number of issues come up before this with a challenge to the permits and so on that you heard about earlier for dealing with the roadway and so on. We went about through that as well. So here we are at the very end of this. This is also this work as far as rerouting utilities and so on is going to go into the process of the transfer of the property to the county for the library and so on. So we're working together. As questions come up, we help out and answer those, but we're waiting for some of it out of our hands and some of it we can. And so the questions are answered now, waiting for the work to be completed.
Okay, some of it's out of our hands, but some of it is in our hands, so the county's own permitting department.
They're working on it.
Okay, so we're coming out of winter and we're entering construction season. I think, time is of the essence to make sure these permits are done from both entities, so we can get moving on this.
Yeah, I know.
Can you move any faster, Eddie, both of you?
I think we're moving as fast as we have as far as the knowledge that we have at this point. If there's something else comes up and we are asking, is there anything else you need from us every time? Is there anything else that can move this along? We're not getting any feedback. There's something that they're waiting for from us at this point.
Okay, Gary, you can take care of that.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, I knew you would. Thank you. Thank you for giving us an update on it.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions from commissioners before Kia moves on? Go ahead, Kia.
Thank you. I'll now talk about the park at Jennings Lodge campus. So we are working cooperatively with the Oregon City School District to develop a new park on an underutilized portion of the Jennings Lodge Elementary School campus. Last June, the Board of Directors approved a consulting contract for design services. And now we have two distinctly different design concepts developed based on district resident feedback that we collected last fall. So we basically put those back out to the community at an open house event in February. And we are now putting together our synthesis or analysis of all of the community feedback of those two design concepts. Design concept one is called Game On. It features active recreation with a playground, walking paths, and a lawn area sized for a U9 youth soccer field. And then design concept two is called Trails and Timbers. It's inspired by nature, and it has a smaller lawn area size for a slightly smaller youth soccer field, extensive tree canopy, walking paths, a meadow, and a nature-based playground. So it's too soon to say which concept won out, or is preferred by the district residents. And after this process, we will refine that design concept, move it through the design refinement process, schematic design and design development, and construction documents are expected to be completed next spring in 2025. We are working on a funding strategy right now. We're hoping to get some grants for that project due to our limited resources. If we can put together a construction funding strategy, we will start construction next fall in 2025.
So we don't know how much it's gonna cost because we have not decided on which plan it will be,
That's right.
nor the funding sources. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? No, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Staff are exploring options for expanding the footprint of the Justice property. Increasing the size of the 2.95 acre parcel will create more opportunity to efficiently meet multiple district needs for programmable sports fields, access to nature, and playgrounds. I expect to present options to you by summer of this year.
Okay, questions on that, commissioners?
Where's this located?
Where is Justice property located? I can show you
Right out the window here?
on the map.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Map today, let's see if I can orient myself right here. So I'll get out of the way here. Park and Justice property right here.
Where?
So it's just about northwest of Clackamas High, right here, and it's just a little southeast of Mount Talbot
Oh,
Nature
okay.
Park. It's right there.
Right, thank you. Any other questions for commissioners?
Oh, just a comment, I appreciate, Director Selly, right, mentioning the prior master plans and, both of them, most especially the original one, which a lot of what's in there is still true today. You know, there's some updates there that are not reflected there, of course. But for the most part, there are areas that are severely underserved, moderately underserved. Those terms are actually in that document, but some of these areas where we're putting parks and looking at parks are severely underserved. So it's good to see that we're making movement on that, trying to fulfill promises that are over 30 years old. So I'm just glad we're making some progress. We got some ARPA money, we got some opportunities that otherwise wouldn't be where we are today. So I appreciate staff and the public supporting that. And, you know, that was Justice property, for example, is a great example of public involvement and the DHC work. That was not on our radar. I hadn't even heard of it until our sub areas were established and we got some involvement. So it was good to get feedback directly from out there where they are, you know, where the public is to learn that. So I want to just applaud everyone for their efforts. And I'm hoping that the sub area concept gets a lot more participation at the local level. They don't need to come to us. We can go to them. I'm looking forward to that to make sure that our future is secure. And if we ask the voters for something in the future, that they understand who we are, what we're doing, and why it's a good thing. So.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, and Director Selly, as you look at the potential for these new parks, are you also looking at the expected cost of maintenance and its impact on the budget?
Absolutely. So that will really be part of that phase 3 and 4 piece of the system plan, where we develop the plan, put together cost estimates for capital improvements, operations and maintenance, and think through the different funding strategies for implementing those capital improvements.
Okay, because we all know what the impact of maintenance has.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions about these projects? Seeing none?
Great, thank you. The final item for board discussion is the financial forecast for the district. For this item, I'm going to ask Cindy Becker, who most recently was acting director, to present this item because she helped prepare this forecast. So please welcome Cindy and go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I have to take my glasses on and off because it doesn't matter. So, the first thing, when Gary asked me to step in for, NCPRD was to look at the budget. And I don't know if any of you have looked at the budget, but I couldn't make heads or tail of it. And I know budget. And I couldn't figure it out. It looked like NCPRD had just a crap load of money. It was sorry, a lot of money. And what we started doing with the incredible help of Kelly back here, she is just amazing, the financial analyst for the department. We started peeling the onion. And so what you have in your packet is a forecast for it's about 5 or 6 years. And I'm not gonna go through every number, but I wanna explain something to you about it. First of all, this is a live document, and I can tell you the document you have in front of you today is outdated because we've already made some changes, but I didn't want to give you something new. It hasn't changed the glide path, but we've already been making some changes to really true this up. For example, based on Gary's directions, looking at our budgets, we have decided to rein in some of our costs. That in the past, we have, like other departments, we have a budget and then we have actuals, and then we keep building on the budget, even though our actuals are lower. And so we have cut out about $400,000 of costs here so that we can, in fact, true up our budget so that our actuals are closer to our budget projections. So that's not in the document you have. The upshot of that is it lengthens the glide path. What you see, and the first item is the NCPR general fund. And what we did is we took apart from the most fungible to the least fungible sources. And so the first one is the NCPRD general fund. And you, just a quick look at this, you can look at the numbers on the bottom and we're going downhill. Why are we going downhill? That's because we have the same tax base we've had forever. We have minimal increases in fees and we have rising costs. And so what we've been doing over the past several years is we're eating into our beginning fund balance. And as you can see in that forecast year number 6, actually forecast year number 5, that's gone. And so what's going to happen is we either have to figure out a way to get more money or we have to cut programs because we're not sustainable with the current scenario of the tax base, the fees, and the rising costs. So it's not pretty, but I think it gives you a real understanding of what the NCPRD budget's about. So the general fund is going to be dwindling over time, and that's when I talk about the glide path. We're not going to be able to sustain all the programs if something doesn't change in the revenue side. So before I go to the next fund, do you have any questions?
Yes.
You might, Chair.
Budgets always have assumptions, and you've made some assumptions that may not resonate with maybe me.
Okay.
Okay. You say unless we can increase revenues, our funding balance will hit a negative in the year 2029. That's just around the corner. You know, one could submit, we're probably spending too much money. If that revenue stream is going to be over $1 million in a negative, why are we currently spending money on new programs?
Great question.
Not only new programs, but new improvements.
That's a great question, Chair. And I think that the question, and I know it's something that Kia and her exec team is going to look at, is what do we need to do from a program perspective going forward? If our revenues are pretty stable and our costs are rising, something's got to give. And so we're not really adding a lot of programs. We're keeping the same programs that we have, but they're costing more.
Well, they're costing more, and we're adding new construction projects. Does that figure in this budget?
Well, in the construction projects, yes, and they're a combination of SDCs and general fund. So yes, you're correct, and that's what.
And SDCs go into the general fund.
SDCs, no, they're separate from the general fund.
Okay, so we have another document for that.
Yes, and it's on here. Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to look at a special line item on the budget year 23-24. You go down to transfer out of $8.9 million. And under assumptions here, and I look down, and is that the $8.9 million goes to Concord Park and Community Center. Okay, does that affect the overall budget trajectory going down over the next few years?
Yes.
Okay, so. So yes, it does.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
whereas we're trying to meet the needs of the community who demand what they want. The community wants what they want. And if I was to give this budget to the community members, to the AC to manage for themselves, what decisions would they be making? At the same time, they demand more and more services from this budget and this board of directors. That's a rhetorical question.
I know,
But maybe sooner than not, you're gonna be making those decisions on your own,
you don't look at me, right?
the people in the community.
Right.
So this budget document is real.
Mhm.
It's very real.
Mhm.
The economic situation of this district is very real. It's not pretend, and it's not monopoly money. And it doesn't happen because I wish it would happen.
Right.
So there's gonna have to be some adjustments made going forward, regardless of who is operating this district. It really doesn't matter to me who operates this district. These are real financial considerations going forward.
Thank you. And we've had this conversation, when I've chatted with some of the DAC members. If the NCPRD does, move away from the county, those numbers don't change. There's still the same issues, the same financial concerns. By NCPRD being part of the county doesn't change that. The reality is that people really wanted, obviously, the Concord Community Center. There were some assumptions made by prior directors in terms of where some of the revenue would come from, and that didn't materialize, so it had to be filled in by the general fund. One of the other things that I'm going to tell you about this budget is that Concord, it appears, was made and approved by this board to be a district-wide asset. To date, Concord has, let me explain what that means. Concord to date has only been funded from Zone 2 SDCs, with the general fund filling in the major, outside of the grants that Kia talked about, filling in the rest of that. And I thought, well, we need to make the Concord Community Center a district-wide asset. And people thought that was a great idea. And Commissioner Savage said, did we already do that? And lo and behold, the board did that in June, but nobody changed the funding. So rather than the funding then being spread out to all the SDCs and the pressure on the general fund being less, that never happened. And so that is something that Kia and the exec team are going to be proposing. It's too late to do it in this budget, but we will do a supplemental if we need to for next year. We don't want to make sure that when we spread some of the costs of Concord to the other SDCs, that it's done in a fair and very transparent way. And we just can't get that done in a week, for the budget. So you approved in June and nothing ever happened. I can't tell you why, but that's the reality of it. So,
Well, we're having some leadership changes, let's be honest.
yes.
Yeah, we had a former director and maybe he didn't understand the directions. Okay, that's a big issue, okay? I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but personnel is a big issue in all government departments and businesses. So it is what it is.
Yes, it is.
But we need to correct it moving forward because
Yes.
we've recognized what needs to be corrected.
Yes, and so what will happen is as we bring in other funds from the other SDCs, we'll be able to pay back, if you will, some of the general fund investment. It won't take it all away, but it'll help.
It'll help somewhat.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from Commissioner?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, go ahead,
Yes.
Paul.
So, great conversation, and I want to give a special thanks, shout out to both Gary Schmidt and most especially Cindy Becker for her financial work on this. For me, as the liaison for this district and a resident of this district since inception, but for all these years, I have struggled to get good information, especially financial information. And with Gary's leadership and Cindy's leadership, we have done that and we're getting more. So we have a lot of things to fix. And for once, we have our eyes on things to be able to rectify. So there's going to be some aha moments and oh my gosh moments, right, as we go through this. But I think it's imperative overall. This is not a budget document. It's more of a forecast. To be technically correct here. It definitely indicates to us that the charge has to be, and I think agreement among staff have heard it so far that we need to have a sustainable, structurally sound budget, just like we do in all our other budgets. And that means in today's world, whether it's this district or another district or wherever, all around the country, districts are facing this very thing where expenses are outpacing revenues, especially those with a fixed tax rate. So this is not new. It should have been done a long time ago, and it had been done a long time ago. Just think how much more money there'd be in reserves. And how much better our budget would look, but we couldn't get a straight answer. I couldn't get a straight answer, and I find that really frustrating. So it's with some humility that we're all here today, but on the upside is that we're on a path to change that. And Cindy, I can't thank you enough for your work on this.
Go ahead,
So what,
Commissioner Schultz.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Cindy, thank you. So, you know, we're real close to starting the budget cycle for FY 24-25, and we're gonna be looking at your recommended budget for NCPRD, and so, before that happens, I'm hoping that you're going to include in there the potential impact on the budget of the Jennings Lodge campus improvements and the Justice property and any other pending expenditures you have for improvements, expansion, or new construction. So that we can look at that, and like I mentioned before, construction is only part of it. Once you've constructed, you gotta maintain it for, until forever.
Yeah.
So that's very critical, and I'm hoping we're gonna be able to see the potential impacts on your projected budget come next month.
So Commissioner, part of the challenge with our budget is when you see it in the budget document, you see it all rolled up. And so it looks like we got all this money because it's all of these funds here that I'm gonna go through with you quickly are all rolled up. So you just see the one number. In the NCPRD budget document that it does, for its users and for the public, it goes into much more detail. But the constraints of the budget that you see, we'll just see it rolled up. So, but we will have all the background information.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things I do want to point out to you, because it's been confusing, is you'll see transfers in and transfers out, and you would think, well, how come they don't match up? And they don't match up because they're going to different funds. On the, one of the things we put together, I think you have it, is the summary of transfers in and out. You have that in the last page. If you don't, I'll send it to you.
Well, that's what I saw, draft and forecast is what we have.
Okay, so I will send this to you because what happens is the transfers are not within funds, the transfers are between funds. So we're transferring general funds to capital funds, we're transferring SDCs to general funds. So I have the secret code that shows you where they're all going and how they all match up, but you won't see it if you just look at this. And I'll make sure you get a copy of that.
Great.
Okay.
Mr. Savas?
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, and Chair, you kind of touched on a little bit as far as, you know, the money in the capital project, which are one-time monies, but reminder that we got a lot of ARPA money, and that's got a deadline to be spent. And so, in essence, that was part of the rationale as this project, which is underway well before even the ARPA money was out there. We had other monies. That those monies you see that you pointed out, and Estim's talking about, those, you know, ultimately what has to happen in the budget is if it's sitting there in SDCs or sitting there in capital improvement, it will get moved to general fund. So we'll see that transfer and then it gets divvied out for the project specified. So that's what you're looking at right there.
Yeah, and I will, as I said, we have a cheat sheet that shows you how it all moves and it actually balances, so that's very cool. So the next fund is the capital repair and replacement fund. And this fund is basically all the projects to maintain the properties. And you will see it's not a huge fund, and you see it also goes down as we continue to invest in the properties. What I can tell you, because someone's probably gonna ask, do you have a deferred maintenance fund? And the answer is no. We have a list of all the things that we know need work, but we don't have enough money for those. We can certainly, I think we need to put that list out so everybody is aware of it, but you know, keeping up this place and keeping up, you know, all the places that we have, we do not have enough money to do the deferred maintenance that we would all like to see. And we can certainly send you that list, but these are in many ways kind of, these are one-off projects that need to get taken care of. So this is just the capital period replacement fund. Actually, this money is general fund money, but it was moved over to a separate fund to protect it a little bit, so that, because we need to have some money to maintain the operations. The staff, our staff, Kevin's staff to maintain the properties is not included in this. That's included in the general fund. But these are projects to fix things and build things and take care of things in the property.
Cindy,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this may be rhetorical, and maybe somebody else in the room can answer. So if we don't have enough money for deferred maintenance to take care of the properties we already own, why are we building new and adding more deferred maintenance to a pot of money of which we don't have? Can somebody in the room answer that question? Nobody can answer that question, but yet we're making really illogical economic decisions for this Parks District, is my point.
Well, Chair, I think if we actually, I'll take a stab at it. Actually, if we balance the budget, or not balance the budget, but get a sustainable budget, we can. And I think another greater conversation is that some of the deferred maintenance not only is here in NCPRD, but it's across the county. And as I mentioned earlier today, when we approved the funding for the housing project in the Hillside project. I want to say, I want to put this out there right now, that is that since I came here, the first building disaster I got was Easton Ridge. And you remember that was a housing project. Cindy remembers because she was here. And that was a debacle. It was a property we owned, housing authority owned, and it had major problems. And during the acquisition, it wasn't sought out, wasn't built correctly, cost us a fortune. I can talk about the Clackamas Library, which is now the Happy Valley Library, another thing, huge, a lot of building rot. There's a list of properties. So when we learned in May of last year about the roof needed for the Wichita School, that was another red flag, because whether it was the Econo Lodge Hotel, why we didn't buy it, which is it's a building issue, a number of properties, why we didn't buy them. Tequila Springs, we were told Tequila Springs we could make adjustments for $500,000 and we could move in within a few weeks or a couple of months. Well, that was not true. And $20 million later, we moved in. 5 years and $20 million later, we've got to stop with we've got to get ahead of all of the properties across the county that we are responsible for, whether it's here in this district or other parts of the county or districts. So it's not just here, it's not just isolated here. And I believe that if we simply capitalize on this opportunity with the ARPA money, get our expenditures in line with our revenues, we'll be able to maintain that. And I guess the other issue is the other properties the district owns that we need to look at. And we did an assessment, which is the responsible thing to do, to figure out, is it worth putting $1 more into some of these properties? And I think that's a responsible decision point or an analysis, which we've done to some degree, but we don't have any estimates on the cost of renovating those buildings. My concern, whether it's Hillside properties or it's the Oregon City Manor properties or the Eastern, whatever it is, we have people in there, and especially kids, the health and the safety of those kids. That was one of the first things that came to my attention on Eastern Ridge 14 years ago. So this is a serious thing. When you put kids in a building, especially, and adults or people that are elderly or ill, the last thing they ought to be doing is breathing mold and breathing anything else, whatever other toxins are in the building. So this is a big deal, not whether it's here or everywhere else. But I just wanted to say that the district's not alone in this challenge.
So I want to remind us, for the Parks meeting, this isn't a forum where we debate every single property in Clackamas County. As a matter of fact, Gary, we do have deferred maintenance set up on county-owned buildings that aren't part of other districts, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we do. So that's very healthy. You still haven't answered my question for this particular district. Why are we continuing to build new when we cannot take care of the deferred maintenance on existing? Now, I don't expect an answer today, but I would like to see that. Take a deep dive into that. And I think before we take on any new properties, including that one or the Concord Parks. I think that's part of the equation moving forward. We can't keep building and building and building and then not be able to afford to mow the lawn or water the grass or take care of the brush or the wildlife because that will be unsuitable for people to live in. So that needs to be done first. I believe that's just my philosophy on this. Maybe we'll get a chance to vote on it or not. I don't know.
I think,
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sure, I think one of the issues, when the system plan is completed, there's clearly going to be more wants than resources. And so part of the ask, to be comprehensive in its ask, I know that Kia is going to be looking at not only what are new things, but what do we need to do for the existing assets that the district has. And so that will come to you together. And, you know, whether or not you want to go for a bond or whether, however you want to do that, there will be opportunities. But the system plan isn't just to look at new shiny balls, but it's really to look at the whole district, what the whole district's needs are.
Good. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I'm tired.
You can see me thinking,
Okay, wait, I saw your hands move, so, okay.
yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
let me just say that we, before the board will likely approve any more expenditures for new projects for NCPRD. I think, speaking for myself, we're gonna have to see some real hard numbers on how we can sustain what we have. And again, the potential cost is one thing on the budget, but the other thing too is that maintenance. And if we're leaning on the general fund to sustain NCPRD projects and maintenance, I can tell you right now, that idea is not gonna be sustainable in the near future. So we're gonna have to get really buckled down and make sure that NCPRD is solvent and can remain solvent into the future. So again, before these projects come to the board for approval for more funding, we're gonna have to have answers to these questions.
And just as a reminder, when we talk about the NCPRD general fund, this is not county general fund. This is separate
This
from
is
that.
yeah.
They call,
taxes
NCPRD calls it
paid
general
by
fund,
the
but
district.
yes, but the tax is right.
Thank you.
So the next item, and we tried to make this in darker colors, so, so you can see kind of how it goes from the method to the madness of the colors at the top. Anyway, capital projects, we did not, forecast capital projects because it really is going to be dependent upon what comes out of the system plan and what you all approve. So we just decided to keep what we have, and what's been approved to date. So there is no, that was intentional that there is no forecast.
Thank you. I think it's probably easier to add than it is to subtract.
Yes. Last but not least, is we have the SDCs, the system development charges, and you can see how that works out over the next several years. The systems development, I know that we're gonna have a conversation, you're gonna have a conversation with Kia sometime the next couple of months about the STC methodology. The way that STC methodology works today is all by zone. We do not pool all the money, if you will, into a single STC methodology and then allocate it. So everything is very zone based. And so what you're seeing here is a combination of all the zones, but that's not how it works when it comes to day-to-day management of STC charges. So this just gives you a summary of where we are. And we have a breakdown by zone. If at some point you want to see that, what revenue comes in and how that money is spent by zone, we have that information available for you. But this is just a summary of all that. And so again, you can see there is a lot of the money is going into Concord. There are funds that have been talked about in some of the other projects, but they have not been encumbered yet, if you will. And so there's still some money on the table, and it's very different between zones because obviously what those SDCs bring in. And so I think it makes sense to have a full discussion of that when you have the SDC methodology, so everybody understands it. But this was just to give you an idea of what the money is that's coming in. And you'll see transfers out on this as well, and the transfers out are either going to capital projects or general fund and then going to capital projects. So if you don't see any transfers in, because that's how it works. It's a little bit crazy making, but that's how it works. And I will send you the summary of transfers in and out. Other than that, if there's any other questions,
Yes, when you send us those, can you send that same document to the DAC?
they have it.
They have it.
Yes, we discussed it last week.
Okay, we just haven't caught up with it yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just one more comment, Chair, just to make this clear, if we simply, and I'll say this, it's not simple, but from a strategy standpoint and a policy direction standpoint, if the policy is given to have a sustainable, structurally sound budget, and we cut the expenses to match or get below the operating revenues, there is the money to maintain the properties, the parks, the buildings, and so forth. Maybe not all of them that have some huge deferred maintenance, which we're addressing that in a different way, but that's really simply the responsible thing to do. Just pack away the money and burn it year by year with a non-sustainable budget and watch $1 million or $2 million be lost per year. That's not responsible. And that's the pattern. And that's the pattern we're headed on. We've had it on a long time. We need to make the cuts. And, you know, I've mentioned this over the years, but it's fallen on deaf ears, but we're here today.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You're not alone in that, Mr. Savas.
What?
That's why I made the points I have tonight. It needs to be said. And we can no longer assume, we don't live in a bubble. And we're taking a look, this Parks District has been looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. It's time to rip off the glasses and get real. And thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Rip off the Band-Aid, right?
Huh?
Rip off the Band-Aid or
The
the
rose-colored
glasses?
glasses is more fitting for this particular
Okay.
situation. Thank you. But we are committed to writing a situation and going forward, just so you know. We'll do the best we can when we get the information. We need information. Now, next up.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda. Tony, would you please read the consent agenda?
Directors, there's one item on the consent agenda, approval of meeting minutes from September 20th, 2023, NCPRD board meeting.
I will accept a motion.
Move to approve the minutes.
Secondly,
Director Savas has moved to approve the meeting minutes from September 2023 NCPRD board meeting. Commissioner Shaw has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Tony, would you please take a poll?
Director Schrader,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
aye,
Director Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Next,
Thank you. Next is District Administrator and District Director update. I will start as the District Administrator. I want to thank 3 people tonight for their service to the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. First, Dominic Cortinas, who has been serving as the Deputy Director of the district, took on more responsibilities when the director position was temporarily vacant and remains the Deputy Director of the district. And Dominic, I thank you for your service. Cindy Becker, who you just heard from. Now, you may not all know, Cindy has an extensive background in practically everything but Parks and Recreation. But that did not stop her from temporarily serving as acting director at my request. And Cindy had done a fantastic job to stabilize the district, keep things moving forward and preparing us where we are today. Cindy please. Cindy Pryor served as a department director at Clackamas County. She worked for the state of Oregon in executive level positions. She knows budgets, strategic planning, communications, and working with elected boards. Cindy, thank you so much. Of course, Kia, our new district director, district director, that's right. 3 days on the job as director, but prior to that served the district for the last 4 months as the planning division director. Prior to that, she had extensive Parks and Recreation experience with the city of Portland primarily as the director of the Portland Parks District, as well as the chair of the Portland Parks Foundation and many other roles in the city of Portland, and worked for the city of Gresham prior to that. So Kia, so glad to have you on board. We look forward to your leadership. Welcome to the team. That was my update. Now, Kia, as a director, any update you'd like to give?
That's a hard act to follow, but thank you, Gary. Just a few items. The March for Meals fundraiser is underway. It's happening this month. It's a fundraiser for the Milwaukee Community Center Nutrition Program. Also, some good news. Registration for recreation programs is back to pre-pandemic levels.
Oh, wow. Yay.
So great news. And registration for recreation summer programs opens April 2nd. So we're launching right into summer.
Wow. Last few days it felt like summer, and then it got cloudy today, right? Just primer, all get ready what's coming. A lot of fun stuff. Thank you.
That is our director and administrator update. Next is public comment, Chair.
Well, we look forward to public communications. If you fill out a card, would anybody in the room like to come forward and discuss items of park business? Wilbur, please come forward. Thank you, Wilbur. You're the past chair of the DAC, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am. So my name is Grover Bornefeld and I live in unincorporated Clackamas County in Jennings Lodge. And I love my community and I first want to give shout outs. I so appreciate what I've been watching coming out of the staff interaction with the community. It's been great for the last several months and greatly appreciated. And it actually fits into what I want to talk about most is that, so in this very room, the District Advisory Board met to redesign how the District Advisory Board would go back to having zones, having wider representation, et cetera. It was, took us 2 years to get that done, from getting the mandate from the Board of Directors. And we are now 3 years into that. And there was a document that you asked us to write, and we did, several people from the community, on how we would go from the way it was to where we're going. And we are moving forward on that, but it's going very slowly. And I am thrilled and having great conversations with the staff about how the system plan and the outreach to the community and the input required and requested from the community can fit with having people feel more connected to their parks district and know that there is in each of the 5 sub areas. The only one that currently has a board operating is the city of Milwaukee, and they have the entire time. The rest have gone quietly away after the first master plan was put together. So the conversations have been great. There are opportunities to move forward on that, but it still is a building thing. And I wanted to volunteer when you asked, can somebody explain how we can do that? I actually do think we have to look at a governance change, or at least some way that we can address getting a different funding source or funding sources. And no offense to anyone, I want you to know, in the community, by the way, just from before this meeting, I was at the Oak Lodge Water Services meeting all their folks because their director is retiring, and it was great. And we cooked up of an event that's going to happen at the Jennings Lodge School in August with the Jennings Lodge CPO to integrate having community like the water people and like the parks people, haven't asked y'all, but will, to participate and have some process to learn more about and be able to answer and express their questions. So there'll be multiple agencies or sources participating. So I don't want to dwell on that now because it's just being cooked, but I left there with a whole group of people that we got on that corner going in that. But what it takes is creating trust. Because yesterday I was talking to my neighbor and water bill, $240, this is ridiculous. And I said, yeah, mine's that way too. And well, is it actually and he says, they've just been wasting our money. They just haven't been paying attention. They're just not doing. Now I know that's not true because I actually have been to a number of their board meetings and I have listened to what they're doing. They have things that are more than 50 years old. Some things are even a lot older than that need to be replaced. It's that time. So, but that's not getting communicated. My neighbor is there just thinking they're a bunch of doofuses not getting their job done. So that's where our opportunity is with the system plan one, with the communicating. I remember, do you still have that sign I gave you, that document that shows the two-way communication when I spoke my last, okay. That I'd like to hold it up now, but couldn't find it because I gave it to you, but it doesn't matter. The point is, it shows the two-way communication through the 5 sub areas. And it is a two-way communication, and that's what we put in place to change that. So that begins to create that they feel listened to and they get to hear current information, the broader community. So I think we're on a path to get there, but it's still a good lift. So I don't want to be light about that. But that's what I love doing. For 35 years, that's what I did. I worked in the community engagement, so we'll leave all that out. But the only way we're gonna get a rate increase in an independent district or stay this way and get a rate increase, but I don't really see that as the benefit because we want to replace you with people who all live in the community, nothing personal. And you got enough on your plates already. Thank you very much.
Yes, we do.
I know. Which hat do you have on at this moment, right? So given that, I really do think there has to be that kind of communication, that kind of trust. It needs to be generated. They're out there sitting there thinking, those parks people, those water people, they don't understand. So if they're engaged and included, I think there's an opportunity to move forward with that. So that's what I think. And I love the presentation that was made by, what's his name, Clark Worth, about, well, you figure out what they want, you write it up, and you say, well, we can do it all, but we want a bond to go with it. Now, I like bonds better because a bond is like 5 years or whatever, you pay for it and it doesn't stay on there forever and ever and ever, and a rate increase. So that's my thoughts. And the last thing I want to speak about is the DAC and its relationship with y'all. So the bylaws are being relooked at, and I don't think we have yet done what needs to be done as far as being a responsible district advisory committee whose primary purpose is to responsibly advise y'all about policy, about planning, and we don't get enough information. And I'm looking forward to, we've been eking a little bit more, like the conversation about budgets that was just in here. So we need to keep doing more of that. Otherwise, the DAC, like too many other ABCs, it's like, here, approve. You don't get a chance to actually delve into the material. I applied to be on the NCPRD budget committee. How soon is that coming up? We still don't know who got accepted, who's going to be recommended, or any of those things yet. When are we going to get to see those budgets so we can actually delve in and make a responsible input to it, as opposed to, yep, good. That, I mean, if you get it 2 minutes before, it's not an opportunity. So that's what I want to speak to you, because I believe you understand, and so I'm happy where we're going. And we got to get rid of the zones. In this very room, it was recommended 8 years ago that the zones be, whenever we disbanded, because of Happy Valley. The zones were made for Happy Valley and Milwaukee, in my opinion. And the sub areas, and the unincorporated weren't included. So all the money's locked in Milwaukee and their UGMA. Happy Valley and their UGMA and the unincorporated, and then there's the rest of us in unincorporated. And we don't have any say, and also we're mostly built out. That's the difference. So I'm done. I'm looking forward to getting that done.
Well, Robert, you have not insulted me. I don't know about the rest of
Good.
them. I find the comments refreshing. I mean, you and I talked a lot, and yes, we do need some change in this, and you talk about bonds.
Mhm.
And I'll cite an example of extremely successful use of the bond, and that's Clackamas Community College. 10 years ago, they went out for a bond to fund certain buildings and programs at the college, and that bond expires this year. And they want to renew it to add more programs and buildings for the needs of the community. And does not raise taxes, it keeps the tax rate the same. So it's a renewal of the bond, but we get more goodies, we get new things. And
And
I,
they get to agree to it again.
and they've done pulling on it, and they've been very strategic and very smart how they do it. They spend a lot of time communicating and doing polling and figuring out what the community wants. So that's a very good way to go forward, instead of just increasing your tax rate because we need new taxes.
Right.
And if you do the bond, the people will see, okay, we get this, and either in 5 years or 10 years. The college did 10 years because they had quite a heavy lift of multi-million-dollar projects. This district may be a little bit different. I don't know. It's interesting when you talk about zones. I'm sure that's going to be on the table coming forward. I can't make a comment on that now. I don't have any information on that, but at least what you're saying is a different way of looking at a situation that you've been doing the same thing for a very long time, which I appreciate. Any other comments? Mr. Savas, Joel?
I'll just save mine for director comments.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grover. Is there anybody else in the room who would like to testify tonight? Please, ma'am, come forward. Did you fill out a card?
I will when
What?
I'm done, if that's okay.
Okay. Please state your name, your area of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Medina and I live in Milwaukee. I'm here to let you know that the future of the Wichita Center is a growing concern among the students in North Clackamas schools. I myself am a student in the North Clackamas School District. Currently, I am a junior enrolled at Milwaukee High School. This essential building has been providing a variety of critical services to the people of North Clackamas for the past 14 years. Some of these services have included providing food, clothing, and school supplies, as well as healthcare, preschool, and homeless services. Some of the groups that the Wichita Center serves include 44% are students of color, 39% are students of low-income families, 23% are English learners, 11% of our students are from highly mobile families, and more than 297 students do not have permanent housing. Students are worried that these services will either be moved or disrupted due to the changing contract coming in June. If they have to move, another location would be more difficult to access by bus, and it would be difficult to find space where all of the services can stay together. Right now, having the county, WIC, and DHS office in the same space as the school district's food pantry, clothing closet, and Ready, Set, Go preschools is a model setup, which should be considered in other parts of the county. It feels like the commissioners are more focused on profiting off of the building than making sure their services will be uninterrupted. We do appreciate the conversations with the school district that are being made and that are beginning. And we hope that the building will be offered to the school district at a discounted rate. Thank you for continuing these important conversations, and thank you for allowing me to give a statement.
Thank you very much for coming forward and voicing your concerns. Would you please fill out a card? Yes. You betcha. Anybody else in the room would like to testify? Now's your chance. Going once, going twice, done. Okay, now, you always have an opportunity to send us an email on concerns, so don't worry about that. Lines of communication are open. See no further public communication. This portion of the meeting is closed. Gary, would you like to continue?
Yes, next is board communications, a chance for you to speak, directors.
Director Scholl, go ahead.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting. I'd like to thank all the members of the DAC for your work. Regarding some issues about transparency, Jeanette De Castro, I appreciate your briefing this evening. I am a firm believer in the importance of transparency between government and the people of the county. But it's difficult to do that sometimes because many of the things we discuss in executive session, like contract negotiation and property negotiation, is done in accordance with state law behind closed doors. And what's very important is that both parties in the negotiation have to respect those privacy requirements. And if one side does not, then what happens is we get a lot of confusion in the community. On the issue, Victoria, thank you for your comments on the Wichita School. It's a very important asset in the community. Next, a week from Tuesday, I think it's 2 April, the board will look at the Wichita School issue again. And it's my hope that we'll be able to come up with an agreement with the North Clackamas School District to resolve that in the favor of both the students at Wichita School and concern to the needs of NCPRD. So that's my hope. And that the children will be going to school there again in September. So, again, to April, the board will discuss it. I'll go back to North Clackamas School District for consideration. And we're hoping that we get this resolved as soon as possible. So that the kids can go on a summer break and know that they're coming back to the same school. Thank you.
The board of directors of NCPRD is the board you're referring to that will be meeting on the 2nd.
No, I'm talking about the board, the commission, board of commissioners meeting on the 2nd. To discuss the Wichita school issue.
But isn't that an NCPRD deal? I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of turn.
It's the NCPRD property, but we're gonna be looking at it from a property perspective.
And CPRB or board of directors meets in executive session as a jurisdiction.
Next, Commissioner Schrader.
Yes, actually, I want to start by welcoming our new director, Tia. It's going to be a pleasure to have you. You've got your work cut out for you. I'm particularly interested in looking at the governance model, looking at bonding. So the capacity of this park district can continue. I think it's a great, wonderful programs that have been happening. I had an opportunity to attend the Chinese celebration that the staff put on, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I would really like to see it. I see you back there, my friend, because what you did at the senior center was absolutely out of this world. And it was truly what a park district should be doing for the people in this area. So welcome, and please let me know if there's anything I can do. I want to thank Cindy. I think Cindy, is she still here? Did she leave?
Yeah, she's in the back.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy, for the information you pulled together for us. It certainly clarifies the heavy lift that we're gonna have, the heavy lifts we're gonna have to do moving forward, but I feel very sure that we will move forward and we will get this Parks District on the straight and narrow and be able to continue to serve Cecita. I am looking forward to building a library, just because I got started with libraries as a public servant. So I'm glad that we're actually helping you get some community assets there. And I do think we will figure out a way to do it with your help with that. The other piece of this is I would like to mention Wichita. I do think that we will come to a fair and equitable conclusion with that. I know that we, at least speaking for myself, I can't speak for my other colleagues, but I do believe they agree with me. Those are essential services there for the children of the area. And I think that we would like to see the negotiations move on and continue in a way where we can actually make sure that, at least from my perspective, those services remain. I think they're essential. I think they're centrally located. But Commissioner Scholl is correct. One of the issues that we deal with is when we talk about any kind of a property transition, it's always an executive session. And we cannot, I mean, I try to be very careful with this. When it's an executive session, that's where it needs to stay. We negotiate, the decisions are made in that space, and then we come into the public arena. Okay, to divulge or talk about the decision. It is a matter of state law. Commissioner Scholl is absolutely correct with that. So I'm going to ask for your patience as we move through the negotiations. I believe that we will all be successful and get what we need for the children there, because they are all members of this district. They are members of our community. We are serving populations that need those services. So thank you for coming tonight, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Savis, you're up.
Yeah, well, we have a certain theme talking about the Wichita Center. I just wanted to say that, my experience in life, whether it's public service or private sector, when people work in good faith, good things happen. And so, but that takes two in this case, and most cases. So, I'm confident, I'm hopeful. I know that my colleagues are all working in good faith and want to work in good faith. And, so I'm looking forward to that. One small, I won't say correction, but one small thing is that yes, we will meet on April 2nd. However, we're not sure if we're gonna get the report back from NCSD by then, so, but it'll be a check-in, be our next check-in. So just a clarification, I don't expect any great outcome of that unless, again, that information coming from NCSD, that they have to do by their code, it comes for us. So, the other thing, I just wanna I appreciated the financial, work that Cindy's done and the staff have done to support that. And I think that, Kia only been here or in a position for a few days. I talked to her earlier before the meeting. No secrets here, but she's got to get her arms around how to tackle this financial monster, right, so to speak. And I just hope the DAC and members of the public can be supportive of that and how, we're not going to tell Kia how to do her job, so we're gonna allow her the space and the time to work with everyone and figure out what it is, because cuts are never easy. We experienced that last year with our general fund for the county. It's painful. It's a tough discussion. And even Cindy in that realm helped in all those other departments as well. So she was a key person in that. So I'm sure she'll be there to help. But we got to get the district in sound financial shape. I just want to say that for all these years, and I want to applaud my colleagues on the board here and the commission both. We serve those both hats for their leadership and trying to turn this around. And Gary, you included as well. It has been a long time coming to fix this particular problem, and there's a lot of problems that we need to fix. But we're getting in front of it. I really am excited for the first time, frankly, in a number of years that we're turning the corner here. The other upside I think we need to acknowledge is that instead of sitting on a whole bunch of money, capital money sitting out there, we're actually putting that back in the community, and it's the community's money. They deserve to have those projects done. So not dissimilar to what the chair said, we certainly have to have the money to maintain them, and that's how we cut the budget, and we can get there. That's not that big of a deal. But sitting on all that capital money with prices going through the roof is not a smart move in this world. So, and some of that's timed out where we have ARPA dollars, some spent. So I'm just excited that we're making and building things, and we haven't done that much of it in a long time. The other little tidbit that has really been missing from the conversation is we took one hell of a financial hit with that Happy Valley divorce. I mean, I don't know if anyone ever looked at the numbers, but that was a big deal. I had to live through that. It was a very painful experience. There were errors on both sides, but at the end of the day, that was a financial hit for the district. So be mindful between that and COVID. It was a tough go, and our DAB was on hiatus for a long period of time. So we're rebuilding it. So I really appreciate all the citizen members, the people that are serving on the DAC, their patience as we help inform and educate everyone to get ourselves back up to speed and have a robust advisory committee like we once had way a long time ago. And that takes some time to understand the workings and the mechanics of the district. And I'm sure Kia and staff will help with that. Chair, I said a lot tonight, so I'm going to stop there.
Thank you. Thank you all commissioners for your comments. I just would reiterate Commissioner Sass's comments. We may not have a decision on the next time we meet in executive session. I don't particularly like talking about executive sessions because it's unbecoming. Not only that, but it's against the law. And I'm very serious as chair that we made a confidentiality that's allowed to us. We're waiting for one more piece of information. I don't know if we'll have it. So we'll do the best we can as fast as we can with the information that we have at the time. So thank you all for contributing to this. Your comments are very well received. You're very intelligent, and we thank you for coming tonight. Seeing no further business before this board of directors, we are adjourned.